Hello and welcome to a very, very short episode of Netflix versus Cinema. I say very short, we'll see how much we waffle on for. My name is Tosin and I am the host based up in a place called the Bromsgrove in the middle of the United Kingdom. And this is the podcast in which we go to the cinema each week, see a couple of things, rate them out of 5, stay at home, see a couple of things on various streaming platforms, rate them out of 5, put them up against each other and see where money has been better spent this week. This week we have one thing at cinema versus one thing on Netflix and streaming services. Joining me as always on the Isle of Wight are Sharon.
Hello.
And Shaun Harris.
Hello.
Yes. Okay. So as I said, this week it's kind of slim pickings, and I think that's mainly due to there not being that much out at the cinema, not much new out of the cinema.
Yeah. Next week will be the week.
Yeah, next week seems to be a little of a bumper week because this week because I got off a plane from America yesterday morning, so time's all a bit weird to me at the moment, and the reason I ended up going to the cinema was because I thought Sinners was out, and I was like, if Sinners is out, Sean's going to have seen it. Sean's going to want to talk about it, and I want to talk about that film. I want to talk about that film. Yeah. And so I ended up going. I was like, oh, Sinners isn't out. It's not out until tomorrow as we're recording this. So I was like, okay, cool. But then I saw Drop, and I thought, I thought somebody might see something else, and I thought I wanted to talk about Drop as well. Right. So that's what I saw at the cinema, which is also what you saw at the cinema, right, Sean?
Yes, that's what I saw at the cinema.
Yeah. Oh, and Shaun, I have to say, I quite like this fact that each week you're finding a different picture that says Netflix versus cinema and having that as your backdrop. I like that, man.
You like that one, did you?
No. I like that as a concept. I like that you keep coming up with different pictures that say Netflix versus cinema. Keep bringing it up. Let's have a stash of them. All right, so that's what we saw at Sinners. We saw Drop. And at home, because there's maybe various other things, but we're sticking with one thing versus one thing, and that thing is, Sharon?
The Bondsman, starring Kevin Bacon on Amazon Prime.
All right, on Amazon Prime. So if you haven't listened to us before, we have a couple of rules. So you might have noticed that we have a TV show on Amazon Prime versus a film. And so if we say that if we're going to bring a TV show against a film, it has to be a season of the TV show. You have to finish watching the entire season because we think it's unfair to put an incomplete story like 2 episodes of a TV show up against a film, which is or should be a complete story. Unless, of course, you're watching The Snowman with Michael Fassbender, which was famously... Sean's doing this Michael Fassbender impression. So, it was famously not finished before they put it in the cinemas. Yeah, that's true. You should. There's lists on the internet. There are things like this one thing is what one thing that every famous actor does or something like that. And they have different things like Bruce Willis is in every film, Bruce Willis looks confused. And he has this kind of what? Look that he does in every single film. And I think yours should be like Michael Fassbender and his... Is it like a grin and a grimace, but something that happens...
the veins on his neck.
The veins on his neck kind of struggle out or something, and his teeth... And then his teeth get prominent and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, Sean doesn't have much to say about much good to say about Michael Fassbender. We'll add that to one of Sean's rants. One of Sean's 1-minute rants that we might put onto our YouTube channel of Sean telling you exactly why Michael Fassbender does not deserve your time. But without further ado, let us kick off with our first thing this week. We say it's going to be a short week, for a short show. We know Sean has to head off. And we are going to talk about Drop. And so Drop is it's a thriller. It's a thriller, and it's a film that kicks off, and the whole idea is that you meet the main character is a woman called Violet, who is a mother with a young son. She's a single mother. They go into the reasons why she's a single mother at some point in the film. And she is going on her first date for a while. At the beginning of the film, you meet her sister, you meet her son. You see that she's being pushed out of the house. She's a bit nervous about going on this date because she hasn't done it for a while. She's been texting back and forth with this guy on a dating app for a while, but this is the first time that she's kind of been convinced to actually leave the house and actually go for this date. And they are in what city are they in America? Was it?
I don't know. I was just trying to think.
Right. I remember that it was obvious. It wasn't Chicago. They're in a city in America, and they are dining at one of these fancy restaurants right at the top of a skyscraper, has a view out across the city and all that. So So she goes into this date. She meets up with a guy. You meet the random people in the restaurant, and most of this film takes place in that one location, which is the restaurant. It takes place in the restaurant. You see all the different people in the restaurant, and then she starts getting these messages, which you can get on phones called drops, which is anybody within a 50-meter radius can send you one of these things. Can send you just a drop, and you can decide whether to accept it or not. And it's just kind of like she just starts getting like random. So like things that almost like memes and all that. And first of all, she just ignores them and thinks that's just somebody being an idiot. But then these messages start having her name in them. They start having her name in them, and they start having like very sort of pointed things. And it says, and all the way to saying, look at your cameras. It's like, don't ignore me. Turn on your cameras and look, because she has cameras all around her house, so she can actually have a look on her son when she's not around the house and everything. And she turns on the cameras. She sees her sister. She sees her son, and she sees a man in a mask in her house carrying a gun. And then throughout the dinner she's having, throughout this date, she keeps getting messages like telling her, do this now, do that now, go, and it's all about, so it becomes this thriller about her stuck in this position, trying to figure out who's doing this, why they're doing this, trying to sort of protect her son, and trying to protect her son without letting what's going on and all that. And that is the basic concept of the film. And I think it's one of these films that has a very simple concept, which I like. It's a 90-minute runtime, which is good, because I don't think they try and stretch the concept out longer than they can handle it. And that is it in a nutshell. Shaun, what did you think?
Okay, so this for me was 3 bits, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to put this in 3 bits. So the first bit, I suppose, I thought was a little bit dull, getting to know, but you have to get to know the characters. There has to be
Yeah. I mean, if I may say something about that, because this is the kind of film where I was almost kind of like, should I even bother arriving at the cinema in time to watch it? Because the first bit, you're gonna have to you have to do that bit. You have to do the setup bit, and the setup bit for me in this sort of films is invariably boring.
Yeah.
It's invariably boring, and I'm like, get to the good stuff. Right?
That's it. So, just to say that. So the first bit was a little bit boring. The middle section, it started to become a little bit intriguing. It was a little bit more. It started to get a little, and then from, should we say, I don't know what to call it. From
the third act.
The third act, the window break. From there on, it was just fell flat. Just absolutely tanked. So you had boringness. This is a bit intriguing, and then patheticness. I can rant about this, the last act, and when I do a 1-minute rant, I'd love to do it now, because it's like, oh come on, that is ridiculous.
Okay, so the funny thing about this is that was almost exactly what I thought you'd think. I was watching it, I was going, yeah, the last bit of this film is so it's one of these films where okay, for instance, I was talking about the first scene of the film. They do a first scene of the film that is the thing is, these sort of films, there's a way that they're going to go, and there's almost like, you almost kind of know the beats of the film that are going to happen. There's going to be a reveal of who's doing it at the end. That there's going to be a build-up of how they're going to get there. There's going to be the intrigue, which is going to try and find things up, there's going to be the boring bit at the beginning where they're trying getting to know the characters that you'd think, this doesn't care, get to the good stuff. They have a scene right at the beginning that made me, that I was like, oh, okay, this was worth showing up for the beginning of the film for. And for a while, I think that they're actually very good at letting you in, because you're watching that film and you're going, is this a flash forward? Yeah. Is this a flash forward towards the end of the film? And have we gone back in time for the film to start and everything like that? And if that's the case, because the way they do it is that at the very beginning of the film, you see somebody's face. And I'm like, hang on a second. Have they just shown us the villain before the film even starts? What is going? And they play, and it's as if the people who make the film, because it's Christopher Landon who did Happy Death Day. He did Happy Death Day to You, and he did Freaky. And so it's him, and so he's a very sort of like genre savvy filmmaker, and I think he knows that. So I think the reason they put that scene right at the beginning is to say, okay, cool, now hang around for the boring bit, then we get to the intriguing bit. This is the kind of film with a kind of concept that I think it's almost kind of, there is almost a genre of movies that I feel would be the kind of film that Hitchcock would have made if he was around when all this technology existed. Right. And I feel like this film that bit is kind of very much, it's very, you know, the whole Hitchcock thing, there's an innocent person shoved into sort of like a situation that they're very ill-equipped to deal with, think like Cary Grant in North by Northwest, all that kind of stuff. And I think that this film is very much in that vein. And they keep the suspense going, as Shaun says, in that middle bit. But with most of these films, I feel like if a film has a reveal, if a film has a point where you're going to have a reveal, I feel like those films are intriguing up until the moment the reveal happens. And then once the reveal happens, because it's all the tension about who is it, what's going on, that once the reveal happens, I think invariably those films get immediately less interesting. They immediately get less interesting because you know who did it, you know why they've done it, and then the film just has a problem of, okay, but how are we going to end? and then the film, and because it's like, well, we're in the cinema, it was supposed to be big and bombastic, we better do something big and bombastic. And I think that this film, it would have probably been a better film, although it would probably have been harder to justify to all the people who put up the money, if they had just kept everything in the restaurant, nice contained, pot boiler, build the pressure up, and everything like that and then it probably has like a denouement, which is just going to be like, you know, people sat around and going, yeah, you got me, or something like that, like that kind of stuff. Like, and the way the film ends is kind of like they try and go for the big Hollywood action-y thing where there's people racing through streets and all that, and it's it's not as good as what comes before. It's not as good as
it's not. It's not
as good as.
It's 3 acts, isn't it? Boring, intriguing. Falls for me personally. It just falls flat on its butt. And I will give you a minute's rant. Okay,
all right. I'll tell you what. Do you think you can do by avoiding spoilers?
Okay. Well, put it this way, because I mean it's the same old thing in other films. So basically, what happens is. You know, it happens in so many films, so it's not really going to be a thing. But let's just say the police know about something, or the police know about something because they've been informed, but somebody can get to a place before the police
get there, yes.
There can be mayhem and all sorts of stuff going on, and the police don't even turn up. And to me, it happens in so many films, and I'm like, you know, how my car crashes, you know, the car Jake, this one. Come on, man. There's no way you'd be able to do that. You can't go that particular way because there might be holes, but no.
Yeah.
Motor on through. And to me, it was just, and the little bit before that with, should we say, the broken window, you know?
Yeah. It's in the trailer. It's in the trailer.
Oh, is that bit in the trailer? Oh, that's right.
That bit's in the trailer. Right. And so I was watching it, and that's part of the thing is, you know when you're watching a film and you think, I saw the shot in the trailer, but I haven't seen it yet, so I know that this isn't over yet. I know this is, I know.
That's it. But I mean, do you not agree? Like Sharon, right? Okay, let's just say you got in touch with the police, yeah, because somebody was burgling your brother's house or something down the road there, and then you suddenly decide, right, I better go and check it out. You go and check it out, and the police don't appear. You know, and they just like, surely if it's a certain situation like a robbery or an armed or a kidnapping or something like that, they're going to be there in a shot, aren't they? Or as quick as they can, surely.
Yeah, unless there's a major incident going on somewhere else. But generally, they'd be there because if they want to arrest the rest of the bad guys. If you say there's a burglary happening now, the bad guys are going to be there. They're going to be there.
Yeah,
you could handle them anyway, Sharon. You could get there. You could get them, and you get to handle them with one hand behind your back. Before you wouldn't need. Anyway. There.
Okay, so it's yes. I mean that all that stuff, yes. But I thought it was well constructed. I feel like the ending. The ending is you can almost see the studio getting a note. You can always see like the filmmakers getting a note when they get the script going, oh, the film it's a bit talky. We need something a bit bombastic. And so they tack something bombastic onto the end that is a bit generic. You've seen in a lot of films before. And I was watching going, ooh, Sean's gonna have a problem with that. Yeah. It's like there's been some, I'm like, I was looking at going, even I was going, I was like, if you're that close, shoot him in the face. And it's like, I was like, hang on, if you're shot there, would you still have the body strength to be able to do what you're just doing?
Yeah, I know, exactly. And that's exactly that. That's the other thing I was going to say, yeah. I know that. Oh, look at that.
Yeah. That, you know exactly the bit. You know exactly the bit I'm talking about. It involves a curtain.
I do know exactly
it involves
the bit you're talking about.
I was watching it going, I don't think you can do that if you've been shot there. But up until that point, I think it was a really, really good film. Up until that point, I think it was a really good film. Really good performances from Meghan Fahy and Brandon Sklenar, I believe that's how you say it. And it's I thought that it builds its tension well. I think it does. The only one thing is, and this might be this I think is really a side effect of me watching too many things. The titles are really good, and the titles they almost like a TV show title, the way they do it. But obviously they tell you who's in the film, and based on the order of who's in the film, and there's not many people in this film who are very well known, but I kind of knew who the people were, and so based on the orders of who were in the film, I had a very good guess as who did it.
You're not going to employ them.
Yeah.
I have to say, if you look at the basics,
did you? Now you see, That's the one thing that I thought it was someone totally different. I thought it was.
Well, it is. And Shaun,
and I'm not very good at that. I thought it was the really, really sweet and sugary employee.
Okay, yeah.
The nice. That's.
The thing is, I think they do a good job of you trying to figure out who it is, and it could be a whole bunch of different people. They do a very good job of that. The problem is, I know who the people in the cast are, and based on the order of importance, I was So the thing is that you might not know who the actors are, but I might say, if you're going to watch this film, maybe keep your eyes shut during the credits at the beginning. Don't read them, because the order of actors kind of tells you the importance to the story. Let me put it that way. All right, cool. Anyway, we'll stop there. And I think, Shaun, you have to head.
I have to move. Yeah, I have to move, I suppose. But I mean, purely for the fact because I thought it was someone else than what it wasn't. So I mean, I guess. I don't know. I should really for it falling on us after 2, but it maybe had enough in that middle section to give it a low 3.
Yeah, well, the thing is, and I'm exactly a star above you in that. I think it had enough to be a low 4, because I was really, really enjoying it up until the reveal, and then after the reveal, and because I kind of feel, I think even in
it, yeah.
Well, the thing is that even in Hitchcock movies, which I think this is emulated to be, I think once you get to the reveal. After the reveal of what's going on, they kind of lose the point of the plot. They kind of they lose the motivation. So it's kind of like the final bit of this film where it goes a bit bombastic. That is Cary Grant hanging off around Mount Rushmore. It's kind of like that, because you have the reveal, you know what's going on, but it's just not done as well.
I'm going to have to go, guys. I'm really
all right, Shaun. All right. Shaun, see you later. See you later, man.
See you later, Sharon. We'll catch some next week, yeah?
Yes.
So with that, I would go with a low 4. But I subscribe to everything Shaun is saying. And
there were 2.
Yes, then there were 2. So now we're going to talk about something on Prime Video, The Bondsman. So.
The Bondsman.
Yes, I've seen some adverts for this, and all I know is Kevin Bacon works for the devil. That is kind of like the big headline that seems to be about this show. So tell me, what is The Bondsman about?
Yeah, that's more or less it. No, there's a bit more to it than that. I'll give you the setup, as we've already described. Kevin Bacon is a bondsman. Mm-hmm. Now, I have been involved in law enforcement in Britain for a number of years, previously in my previous job. I've never heard of that in terms of how that works. But I've heard of it as like bounty hunters, but I don't know how it works in terms of legal things. So I'm not guessing largely what a bondsman is. But basically, Kevin Bacon, him and his mother have had this family business where they are bonds people.
Yeah.
And from what I gather, it means if people don't turn up for their bail or for something or other, there's a bounty put on them, and you can go and collect that bounty by arresting them, bring them into the courts. That's what I think it is, and they all get paid by the courts or by some sort of law enforcement. That's what I think they do.
Yep.
So the setup is then that Kevin Bacon and his mother have been running this business for a long time. It's been like a family business. He is estranged from his wife. She is a country singer who works in a bar, and she's moved on from him. She's now got a new boyfriend who's a bit
that
sleazy.
that actually sounds like the theme of a country song.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot about this. This is about a country song. So her new boyfriend is slightly sleazy. His name is Lucky.
Yep.
And he has a teenage son, and he's an aspiring musician as well. So Kevin Bacon has been given the tip off about a person he needs to go pick up. He goes there, and whilst he's there, he is murdered. His throat is cut from ear to ear. This happens in the first 10 minutes of the first episode. Mm-hmm. And then the next day, you see him waking up, squashed between the walls of a building. And he's just like, what's just happened? So he gets himself out and looks in the mirror, and you can see that he's got a cut throat. And as the day progresses, it begins to heal up.
Yeah.
And he keeps getting these phone calls from this thing called Pot of Gold, and he can't work out what it's all about. And he eventually answers it. And what it turns out, basically, that he has made an arrangement with the devil that he has to work for the devil. And that one of those jobs is that he's a bondsman. He's going to use his skills to capture demons that have escaped from hell. And he has to send them back to hell. Yeah. And so he is the devil's bondsman. He has to capture these demons who've escaped, send them back to hell. And for that, he is rewarded, as in he doesn't have to live in hell. He can carry on his normal life. He can be on Earth. He can see his family. He can see his mother. He can live a more or less normal life. Only he can see demons. His vision is that anyone who is a demon, he can see their true selves rather than the appearance they present to the world. Yeah. So this is over. Is it 8 episodes?
I'm just checking. So as you've been speaking, all right, what's been happening is that I've been getting immense flashbacks and deja vu to another show I used to watch ages ago called Reaper, and it sounds like it's almost the exact same premise.
The same thing.
Yeah, so it's just been like messing with my head a bit. I'm like, hang on, this is Reaper. It sounds like the exact same thing as Reaper.
I think it's the thing that's been explored before by other.
It's 8 episodes. It's
8 episodes. Yeah, because they're very short. They're in like 20 minutes, 28 minutes, 30 minutes. Some of them are barely half an hour long. And so it starts off with basically like sort of Demon of the Week. But then as those episodes progress, there's a theme emerging, and then it draws into a bigger picture. So it isn't just Demon of the Week territory.
Yeah.
And then there's a sort of
it's not like Buffy the Vampire Redux or something. Buffy the Vampire.
Yeah, there's like a big bad. Yeah, we do end up with a big bad, and there is the bigger. It builds up to something. So it isn't. It starts off with Demon of the Week, but then it sort of moves on from that. But it's quite compact, quite punchy. They're very short episodes, so we've got a very quick watch, and it is what it is. It did it quite well. I mean, because it is only half an hour, I mean, it's like, okay, there's the demon, catch the demon, kill the demon, end of part 1. And so you get a lot of that where there's not much tension, there's not much peril, because it's like you've only got half an hour to round this up and you've already spent 10 minutes setting it up. But, you've got to get on with it. So they are very quick episodes. It's hard to get really engaged because they're so quick, but they've done it okay. Some of the characters are not very likable. You can find out why when he was murdered, he went to hell rather than the other place, and you find out about why. And then his mother, who is a religious lady, said how it was like, what did you do to get sent to hell? As if you have to have like one big reason, but in this show, that's how it works.
Yeah. Man, even down to the mother. This
she's been in a lot of genre stuff. You know her. She's been in loads of stuff. You know her. You'll know her face instantly.
Yeah, it's just...
You won't know the name, but the character, and the sleazy boyfriend. Yeah, you're lucky. You'll know his face, even though you probably can't name him. But so there's some interesting things about it. A bit of fun, but it was never going to be high art. So I would say the best it was ever going to aspire to was a 3, and that's what it was. It was a 3.
Yeah, I figured that it was going to coast by on the charms of Kevin Bacon. It seems like it's a vehicle for Kevin Bacon
Absolutely.
to walk around being charming, and that's what the show seems to promise. and that's it. It's like, what more do you want? Because although man, I am now really, really just sort of like okay. When you get off this, go on Wikipedia and read the synopsis for a TV show called Reaper. It was made between, I think, 2007, 2009, and it's almost there. It sounds like it's almost the same show.
I might have even seen it. I can't remember. But some of these things about it, you're thinking, are we going into like early seasons of Supernatural here? That's that sort of thing. Where you've got these different the monster of the week, but it started off that way, but it did develop, so it has got potential, and it's yes, it was better than it could have been, definitely, because some of these things could be absolute just toot, but no, it was all right. It was all right, better than I thought it was going to be, but not as bad as it could have been.
All right, cool, good stuff. So 3 stars for that. So at the moment, then I guess that there aren't really there's not many prizes for guessing who has won this week. So even though it was a close run thing, well done, cinema, yay, you do that. Yeah. And so, as I said, it's a short show this week. We shall be back next week with the aforementioned Sinners, which I think is coming out. So Sinners will be out.
I'm hoping to see The Return at some point, but I don't know if that's coming to the island. I want to see that.
I want to see The Return. I'm
hoping it will appear somewhere around here. But it's one of those ones I think they might just spring it on us, so I'm going to have to check the cinema every day just in case it appears.
Yeah, that's Ralph Fiennes playing Odysseus.
Coming home to Ithaca and Penelope.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. It's almost kind of, when they have something in the water. This is the kind of film that feels like, because Christopher Nolan has mentioned, he announced about a month ago that his next movie is going to be Odysseus. It's going to be about the Odyssey and everything with like a big massive. Yeah, and I think somebody went quick. Quick, because this is like a tiny little film. From what I can understand, it's almost like a sort of low. It's not a Christopher Nolan budget. It's like so it might not be low, but it's not Christopher Nolan budget. And it's a tiny film that would not really get that many people looking at it. But they've kind of gone, quick, get it out there. Why people are talking about why people have this in their minds. And I respect them for it, but it actually looks quite intriguing because. Yeah, because all it seems to focus on the bit of the story that people that is usually like the coda, is like the third act.
Yeah,
it's like
the very end. Yeah.
it's like and he got home and then some stuff happened and blah 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 whatever.
Got rid of all of her suitors and that was it. And then he's like happy ever after with Penelope. But it's like there's more to it than that with old Telemachus and all the rest of it. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, this is a story, right? That so the Odyssey, Odysseus, and all that kind of stuff. When I get to there was a bit where me and my friends going to like Greek myths. Some of us grew up in Nigeria, and we saw the most like comic book movies or something like that, or comic book stories. And I've heard about the Odyssey. I've heard about the Sirens. I've heard about the Cyclops. I've heard about all these different things. Yeah. This is the bit of the story that I am kind of like, what, stuff happened after I go home? What do you mean? What do you mean stuff happened after I go home? I thought
there's a whole thing about Penelope's tapestry, isn't there, where she would be making this tapestry or whatever it was, and then she'd rip it off the loom every night and start again. Yeah. She said to one of her suitors that she'd consider marrying him when she'd finished this tapestry, but she'd like to rip it apart. And isn't there something about Telemachus? He has to spare to string his father's bow and do this sort of feat of archery with it. But anyway, I'm just thinking, I know snippets, but I don't know the whole story. Yeah,
so I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with this, because I think it focuses on an area of the story which I think that they should focus on. But anyway, so until next week, which I'm trying to see whether it's coming, what's coming close to me. Okay, so we have Sinners next week. Warfare.
And the Amateur, I think that's a Warfare.
Yeah. Sinner, Warfare, The Amateur. Ooh, it doesn't look like I'm getting The Return. No, come on, give me The Return. Give me The Return, you uncultured. No, doesn't look like I'm getting it. But anyway, I'm going to have to track that down somewhere. But until next week, it's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from me.
And a good one from that guy you heard going on earlier, banging on about how third acts of movies falter. But yeah, until next week, see. Thank you so much for listening to us, and we'll see you next time.